Hey guys, Charai5 here, and I am happy because I'm done with the drawings. This is the... not that I didn't enjoy doing these, it's just I am tired. It was kind of stressful because I needed to attend to the recording and the editing so I could get these out on time, but thankfully Sun and Moon comes out today, so that means I'm done. I'm still going to do drawings for my Gen 1 remake team, my Gen 2 remake team whenever I get to Gen 2, whenever I get it, my Gen 3 remake team, my Virtual Console Red team, because I really want to do that drawing, and my Moon team. I actually pre-ordered Sun and Moon yesterday. I know that I said in a previous video that I hadn't pre-ordered it because it was expensive, but it turns out that it wasn't as expensive as I thought it would be, because the exchange rate in Mexico sucks. So the money that I make is actually really good for the price over here in Mexico. Otherwise, I would have been screwed. But I only had to pay $10 more. But they're sending it over here to my house. So I thought I was actually going to get it tomorrow or on Monday at latest, but it turns out I'm checking the tracking and it looks like I'm gonna get it today. So that's good. I'm gonna be getting Sun and Moon just as soon as everyone else. But you bastards already have Sun and Moon, you guys who went to the the midnight releases and pre-ordered it and already went to your GameStop and whatnot. But yeah, so Pokemon Generation 6, X and Y. We move on to the 3DS. Everything is 3D now. Everything's changed. Everything's different. Everything's so hype. And this is the first time that I've ever actually been, like, up to date on news for a certain game. You know, when Sun and Moon was... Not Sun and Moon. When X and Y was announced, oh my god, the hype for it. It wasn't as hyped as Sun and Moon is, but it was a big deal, I remember. And rightfully so, like they finally made the jump to 3D graphics, which is impressive, and it looked really good. Like every Pokemon had 3D models. You know, you could explore the world, the region of Kalos in 3D, something that we hadn't really done before except in Colosseum and Gale of Darkness, but that was different, you know. And the Stadium games, excuse me, whoa, don't know what happened there. And the Stadium games had a similar thing where all the Pokemon were 3D, but that was generations ago. That was the first generation, and to an extent the second one, but, you know. I got Pokemon X when I went to Rhode Island in 2014. It was April of 2014. I went to Rhode Island to check out school for college. Didn't end up going, not the point. And while we were there, I picked up a Wii U, well, with my mom's help. I still wasn't making my own money at the time. But, like, I picked up a Wii U and Pokemon X. I'd seen Pokemon Black and I think Black 2 there, but I didn't want to spend too much money, and I'd rather take the most recent Pokemon game. So that's why I picked up X instead of any Gen 5 game. And turns out, the funny thing is, I started my adventure on 420. I started my Pokemon adventure on Pokemon X on April 20th. And a month later, I had already beaten the game. I don't know why it took me a month. The game is piss easy. Like, seriously, Gen 6 facilitated things so damn much. It made things so simple, and I don't know why. Like, I genuinely do not know why it is that it made things so simple. Like, the Pokemon took nothing to level up. The stipulations for leveling up Pokemon and evolving them, like, were so different and so simplified. But, like, that's not to say that I didn't had a really, really good time with Pokemon X, you know, like, it was very charming, and that's something that, to me, I was discussing with myself, when I beat Gen 5, I thought to myself, Gen 5 had a fantastic story, something that Gen 6 didn't have, but what Gen 6 had a bit over Gen 5 was charm, because Gen 5, like, Black and White still felt like a standard Pokemon game, like it still felt like, oh, beat the bad guy, beat the team. And even though, X and Y is no different, it still has the whole, like, beat the team thing. You have more friends this time around. Like, that was something that I liked that Gen 5 did. With its rivals, they were your friends also. They weren't just, like, douchebag rivals. In Gen 3, it was like, yeah, I guess I can consider these guys my friends, but we don't really talk much. Gen 4, same thing, like, you barely talk to Barry or whatever the hell his name is. And I never really touched on that, actually. Barry's a douchebag. But that's besides the point. We're talking Gen 6. Gen 5, to talk about Gen 6 for a little bit, Gen 5, Bianca and Sharon were your friends. And it was nice seeing them. And they each had their personality, which was very charming. But Gen 6, I think had even more charm. Like, everyone felt like they were your friends. And I know a lot of people might think that Tierno, Serena or Caleb, and Shauna are annoying, but I don't know. I always thought it was cute, that, hey, we're gonna go on our Pokemon adventure together. Let's do it. And, like, they follow you through the forest the first time around. I do think the game is riddled with charm, It's very cute, very nice. I think it makes a fantastic first Pokemon game for a lot of people because it's just so simple. That being said, I have discussed this with friends before, and we all agree that Gen 6 is probably the least memorable as well because, like, it's so easy and you go through it in a breeze. And sure, I still remember vast parts of, like, the story and, things that happen, but I swear I can only remember one gym leader. Like, the rest I'm not even sure of. I cannot for the life of me remember anything about the Elite Four, except for the one dragon trainer who had a Dragalge, and what was the other one? I know the other one. The Noibat. No, Noivern, sorry. That's all I remember about the Elite Four from that game. The story, I think, was very nice. Again, if very simple and not too, complicated and not too memorable, but I think it was nice enough for what we got. The features, I think, was where the game really shined. Pokemon-Ami, customization. This was the first time we could actually customize our trainer. That was awesome. Like, it was the first time we could have a brown Pokemon trainer. And, like, that made me so happy. I was like, yes, finally, a game that caters to me. And my wants and my needs. But I loved that aspect about the game. I wish it had a bit more customization, but thankfully Sun and Moon looks like it has a buttload of customization, which is great. Because I love customizing characters in video games. Pokemon-Ami, you could play with your Pokemon. Just the different forms that you could get. Like, there was a new evolution, Sylveon, the fairy type, which changed up. I know a lot of people are probably pissed off about the fairy type, but to me, it's not so much that it doesn't really piss me off. It just more so, like, is subject to confuse me, because it's like, already I'm not entirely sure of all the typings, like steel and dark and all that. Now you're adding fairy type, and I don't know what, like, I know that dragon is weak to fairy, but I think dark is weak to fairy too, actually. But I don't know what fairy's weak to. I think maybe steel, but, like, I'm not sure, so, like, that's just another type that I had to learn. But it brought a lot of new things to the table while still being very simple. And to talk about the drawing for a little bit, that's what I was going for. I guess I'll get into that when I start coloring, but roll call, time to talk about the team. I've never talked about the team this late into the video before. So, I don't want anyone calling me a Gen 1er. I'll get that right off the bat. I could just get these Pokemon and I wanted to get them, not because I super love them, but because I love them above, like, the other things. Originally, I was going to have a Talonflame as opposed to the Charizard, but why the hell would I not choose a Charizard? It's my favorite Pokemon. So I started the adventure with, I was Team Froakie, even though I was Team Fennekin for pretty much the entirety of the entirety of before I got Pokemon X, I was Team Fennekin because it's a fire fox and it turns into a psychic fire fox. Why wouldn't I? But then, while I was in Rhode Island, the Smash Direct where Greninja was announced for Smash Brothers came out. And I was like, oh, that's what Froakie, oh my goodness. And that alone made me like change. And I was like, okay, yeah, I think I'm going to go for Froakie. Even though Froakie was the one that I was like, nah, I'm not choosing this one. But hey, that's how things worked out. And I aptly named my Froakie Smash. So Smash is my Greninja. And that was my starter Pokemon. So you could catch a Pikachu very, very early on in the game. I think like in the first forest that you come across. And I'm like, well, sure, why not? A Raichu? I like Raichu. Let's go. So that's when I caught Rai, my Raichu, which was fantastic electric type. Very, very powerful, very fast. I would have also caught a Pavilion, or I can never remember the first evolution. Because I know Spupe is the middle one, but I can never remember. Scatterbug. I would have caught a Scatterbug, but then I found out you can capture Caterpie. And I'm like, why would I not catch I mean, a lot of this is based on, my catching of Butterfree is based on the Gen 1 remake. Because I had a Butterfree in that, and oh my god, she wrecked house. She was a flying bug that knew psychic type moves, and that was super powerful. So, that's my Butterfree named Margarine, because it's Butterfree. And then you get to Lumio City, and you are given the option of what Kanto starter you want. And like I said, I was going to go with Talonflame for my my flying type, because I always tend to have a flying type on my team, except for Gen 5. That was the only time I didn't. But I always tend to have a flying type on my team because I'm going to use Fly eventually. So like I'm always going to have a surfing Pokemon and a flying Pokemon. In this case, my Greninja and my Charizard, who of course I named Chari. So like when I was given the choice, I was like, yes, Charmander, please. Bye, Talonflame. I'm sorry. Or whatever Talonflame was at the time. It's a Talonflame now. I don't know if it was still a Fletchling or a Fletchinder at the time. And then I caught this adorable, just cute as hell little squid named, god damn it, what's its name? Inkay. I found Inkay and I'm like, oh my god, this thing is so cute. And I caught it and I was like, Psychic Dark? What the hell? What is this typing? Yes, please. I want this. And then I figured out it was the Pokemon with the weird stipulation for evolution. Get it to level 30 with the 3DS upside down. And I'm like, oh, it's that Pokemon. Well, okay. And then it turned into Malamar. Probably one of the most terrifyingly just not attractive Pokemon I've ever seen, but even so, it's a great Pokemon. It is powerful. It can learn fighting type moves. It can learn dark type moves. It can learn psychic type moves. This thing wrecks house. I will say that right now. It's a great Pokemon. And its nickname is Psy-Ink, which I think is cute because it's a psychic type and it's a squid. So it's a psychic squid. Anyway. And last on my team is the Lucario that's given to you halfway through the game. And I don't know what I had before then, but I thought to myself, you know what? This is like very plot important. It's the whole like, oh, this Pokemon like feels a great connection to you. It really likes you. So I was like, okay, well, for the sake of that, I guess I'll have it on my team. And I did, and that's where I discovered that I love Lucario. I'd never trained a Lucario before. Again, I played Gen 5 after I played Gen 6, so that's why I had a Lucario on that team. Because I had a Lucario on this team. And this is where the Legend of Soul started. This was the first Soul. So yeah, that I think it's a great Pokemon team, and I think it's a little bit reflected in the drawing itself. And now to talk about the drawing itself. I was going to go for the style that I went with on Gen 4 and 5, but I figured that it was going to complicate myself a little bit. This piece took 6 hours, which I don't know why, considering how simple it looks, but I think it was mainly because of the line work and the experimentation with the coloring, honestly. Because right now, what I'm trying to do is really just go for it, simplify, and get through the coloring as fast as I can, so that I can figure out the shading later. And I did discover a way to use the paint bucket tool so that it would fill in things and not make it look gross. So that really helped a lot in terms of getting things done. And halfway, like very early on, I decided, you know what? This is going to be a reflection on the Gen 6 games, and also, it's going to be symbolic of that. Because like I said earlier, Gen 6 really simplified the Pokemon formula. So I figured, instead of going for a complicated Ken Sugimori art style, and this is still like, in terms of drawing, I still think it looks pretty Ken Sugimori. But in terms of coloring, I wanted to go for something a little bit more simple, something a little bit more me, like something the way I would color it. And I'm very fond of using the highlight shadow technique. I mean, I don't know if it has a name, but that's what I call it. Where you grab 3 different colors, one base color, a color that's a little bit lighter than it as a highlight, and a color that's a little bit darker than it for the shadow. And I've always used that technique. I think it looks really nice. It's very comic book style, but I like it. So I figured that I'd go for that, just so keep things nice and simple, not mess it up with the color, because sometimes a drawing can look really great, but when you apply color to it and you try to make it look really good with highlights and shadows, ends up looking pretty bad. So I decided, oh, never mind. I was like, why did I do that? But no, that's good. What ended up happening was, I went with that decision. I went with the shadow highlight thing, and I think that it benefited from it. I used a different brush this time around. Like I said, this was very experimental, which I also think Gen 6 was. Gen 6 was very experimental because it did a lot of new things for the Pokemon formula. And it turned Pokemon into a new staple of its former self. Like now, Gen 6 is like the common grounds, so to speak. And this is where I start shading, and I just did not know what to do here. I do not like how Rai came out. Like, that Raichu, I don't know what it was. If it was the shape of the head. Like, I couldn't get the eyes right. If you noticed, I was struggling a lot with the eyes. Like, it really annoyed me. But yeah. And if you're wondering, yes, this is the outfit that I had in Gen 6. It wasn't just like... it wasn't just me drawing myself in Calum's clothes, because I think that is Calum's default jacket. I'm not sure, but I think his hat may be red. Actually, I'm not sure. But anyway, yes, I have the gray fedora tips hat, my lady. But like, the funny thing about the fedora is that it actually has like glasses on it, and I was debating whether or not to actually put the glasses on it while also putting my own glasses on it. I think that would have been really funny, but I was like, nah, there's no point. It probably would look stupid, even if it's a joke. So yeah, I think around here was when I realized, you know what, I'm just gonna go with simple shading. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. It did take me a little bit longer than normal, but I mean not longer than normal, but longer than it should have, honestly, because for something that is going to look very simple, I think it was because I was struggling with deciding on what technique I wanted to use for the coloring. And that's never really been easy for me when it comes to coloring something, an actual illustration, as opposed to like an animation or something simple that I want to do. But yeah, I do like how this piece came out, just due to how simple it is. The Pokemon are actually pretty far apart this time around. I don't know, because like I didn't know what pose I wanted Lucario to be in. Same for Malamar. But like I kind of decided early on what I wanted Charizard and Greninja's stances to be. And I think I've never done Greninja's pose before. Like I've never drawn something in that pose before. And I think it looks damn good. Again, not to like sing my praises or anything, but I really like how Greninja came out. I'm very happy with how it came out. And Charizard is probably my favorite drawing because I think it's the first time in all that I've been drawing that I actually make something look three-dimensional. You know, like with the drawing alone. Because sometimes, for the most part, I have to use color to make it look three-dimensional. This time around, no. Just the drawing itself looks three-dimensional, and that's great. Lucario was kind of difficult to draw. Lucario's mouth, it always gets me, you know? And I don't know if, like, originally what was supposed to happen was Lucario was supposed to be right next to everyone, but I guess if you look at the perspective, Lucario could be on a different plane, like in front of the team, which I like to think is the case, because otherwise, that is one big-ass Lucario. And Malamar is just kind of there, like, in a general pose. I really didn't know what I wanted to do with Malamar. And then the Raichu just on top of the trainer. And Butterfree on top of Greninja's nose. Again, I wanted to really represent, like, hey, this is a team. And we all love each other. And, of course, I didn't want to just draw Charizard again, so I don't know why I had mentioned it before, and in case it wasn't obvious, I'm drawing Mega Charizard X, which is the most badass design for Charizard up to this point. I'm just gonna say it right now. And, okay, I will say Gen 6 is kind of what made me realize Charizard is overrated, because Charizard got into Smash, Charizard was the only Gen 1 starter that had two different Megas, like Mega Charizard X and Mega Charizard Y. Mega Charizard X is fucking amazing. I'm just gonna say that. I love its design. Its color scheme is to die for. I love it. But I do think it's unfair because other people like Blastoise and Venusaur more. And I don't think it's fair that only one Pokemon is getting the spotlight, even if I do love Charizard. I do think it's a little bit unfair. Where's the love for Squirtle and for Bulbasaur? Yeah, Malamar is a weirdly designed Pokemon. But I love that Pokemon a lot. Anyway, running out of things to say, but we're nearing the end of the drawing. I just want to say thank you all so much for watching these past 6 Pokemon drawing videos, these discussions. It's been really nice to go over my entire Pokemon adventure. This is the finished piece, you guys. I will see you next time. I'm not going to be drawing them for a while because I do want to get to other stuff. I don't want to just fill my time with drawing and, drawing Pokemon and talking about Pokemon. But next time we meet, I will be doing the Pokemon Gen 1 remakes. I will eventually, like I said, get to Sun and Moon and draw my team, but I need to play through it first. And hell, Sun and Moon comes out today. If you're going to get it today, if you're going to get it in a few weeks, whatever, enjoy the game. It's going to be fantastic. And don't look at spoilers because people have been posting spoilers and that's not cool. But anyway, until next time, stay safe and stay awesome. This is Char5, signing off.